as your photons get higher and higher energy, yes, you can start doing things with them. You get X-rays and gamma rays, but that's not what Tesla was referring to.
Imagine a world where all of Nikola Tesla's inventions come to life. Cars flying silently, needless of fuel, the whole globe communicating without wires in sight, harnessing energy as we breathe, and a lot of remarkable visions unimaginable. But not all experts agree with Tesla, especially Neil deGrasse Tyson, who recognizes his ideas but still thinks most of them are a little out there and impractical, even hazardous for the entire humankind. Tyson. A little out there, Nikola Tesla is basically the poster child for genius inventors who were way ahead of their time. You mention his name, and most people immediately think of lightning bolts, mad scientist vibes, and epic ideas about the future. Tesla gave us a lot: alternating current, early wireless communication, and even the groundwork for tech that powers our world today. But not everything he dreamed up was sunshine and sparks. Some of his ideas? Pretty dangerous. And Neil deGrasse Tyson, the ever-rational voice of science, hasn't been shy about pointing that out. Tyson respects Tesla, no doubt about it. You can hear it in his tone when he talks about him. He admires the creativity and brilliance, but admiration doesn't mean blind acceptance. One area Tyson draws the line is Tesla's obsession with wireless power transmission. It's this idea that we could beam electricity through the air, like Wi-Fi for energy. Sounds cool, right? No more tangled cords, no power outlets, just plug your stuff into the ether. But according to Tyson, this vision comes with some serious red flags. Transmitting electricity wirelessly on a large scale means flooding the air with high-voltage electromagnetic fields. And Tyson raises a good question. How do we protect people and, birds from just randomly walking through these invisible streams of raw power? It's not exactly something you want hitting your brain on the way to the grocery store. Besides the potential health hazards, Tyson also points out the huge technical challenge: energy loss. Even today, we struggle with how to move electricity efficiently. Beaming it through the air? That's like trying to fill a bucket with a leaky hose from 100 feet away. You might get some of the water in there, but a lot of it's just going to end up wasted. Or worse, hitting stuff it's not supposed to. Tyson's take isn't about throwing shade at Tesla. It's more about being realistic. He often reminds us that just because something is possible in theory doesn't mean it makes sense in practice. It's like dreaming of cars that run on banana peels. Great for a sci-fi movie, not so great for your daily commute. Generally, Tesla's legacy is still incredible. He dared to think big, which is something the world always needs. But as Tyson gently reminds us, big ideas still need to be grounded, literally and figuratively, especially when they involve zapping the atmosphere with gigawatts of power. From now on, then, while we can keep celebrating Tesla's brilliance, maybe let's also keep our charging cables handy, just in case. Let's start looking at some of Tesla's dangerous claimed inventions and the terrifying truths behind. The myth and mystery of Tesla's death ray. In the 30s, the brilliant and enigmatic inventor Nikola Tesla made a bold claim that captured the imagination of the world. He announced the development of a revolutionary weapon, which he called Teleforce, but which quickly became known in the media as the death ray. According to Tesla, this invention could project highly concentrated beams of particles across vast distances, hundreds of miles, with the power to destroy enemy aircraft, disable military forces, and even obliterate entire cities. Tesla envisioned this device as a means of enforcing global peace through overwhelming deterrent force, much like the later concept of nuclear weapons. The terrifying nature of such a weapon cannot be overstated. If Tesla's claims were accurate, the death ray would have represented a seismic shift in warfare and international power dynamics. A weapon capable of silent, instantaneous destruction from afar could render conventional military defenses obsolete. Entire battalions could be wiped out without a single shot fired or a bomb dropped. Cities could be held hostage or annihilated without warning. The mere existence of such technology would introduce an unprecedented level of vulnerability and paranoia into global relations. Tesla himself claimed that such a device would make war impossible, as no nation would dare to attack another with such destructive capability in place. However, reality presents a much different picture. Despite Tesla's detailed descriptions and public announcements, no working prototype of the Teleforce weapon was ever produced or found after his death. Tesla claimed to have developed the theoretical principles and components, including a unique vacuum chamber, a method of generating extremely high voltages, and a mechanism for directing particle streams. Yet he never publicly demonstrated the device, nor did he provide schematics or verifiable proof of its functionality. Most scientists and historians regard the death ray as one of Tesla's more speculative or perhaps even delusional later-life ideas, possibly fueled by his declining health and increasing isolation. Furthermore, the scientific feasibility of such a weapon, especially with the technology available in the 30s, remains highly questionable. Direct energy weapons and particle beams are still an area of experimental research in the 21st century, and even today, they face significant technical challenges related to power generation, beam focusing, and atmospheric interference. Given these hurdles, it seems unlikely that Tesla could have produced a functional device nearly a century ago. While Tesla's death ray is a captivating piece of technological mythology, it remains just that, a myth. Its implications, if real, would have been terrifying and transformative, but without evidence or practical demonstration, the Teleforce weapon stands more as a symbol of Tesla's visionary genius and eccentricity than as a credible invention. The legend of the mechanical oscillator. Nikola Tesla is known for a long list of cool inventions and visionary ideas, but some of his experiments edge into the realm of myth and mystery. One of the most intriguing and downright eerie stories involves his so-called earthquake machine. Officially known as a mechanical oscillator, Tesla claimed that this small device, no larger than a steam-powered engine piston, could emit powerful vibrations. And not just any vibrations. He believed they could be tuned to match the natural frequency of objects, causing them to shake, break, or even collapse. According to one famous story, Tesla was testing this oscillator in his New York City laboratory when things got out of hand. As the machine hummed away, Tesla claimed the vibrations grew stronger and stronger until the entire building began to tremble. Neighbors ran out of their homes thinking there was an actual earthquake. The situation got so intense that the police reportedly showed up to investigate. In some versions of the tale, Tesla had to grab a hammer and smash the device himself to stop the chaos before it brought the entire block down. Now, that's a wild story, and if it's even half true, it shows just how powerful vibration and resonance can be. Tesla believed that if you could find the right frequency and apply it long enough, you could do serious damage. He even speculated that with the right setup, one could potentially bring down buildings, bridges, or, in his more extreme musings, maybe even split the Earth in half. That last bit may sound like something out of a sci-fi movie, but Tesla wasn't exactly known for thinking small. The reason this idea is so terrifying is that it's rooted in real science. Resonance is a legitimate physical phenomenon. If you've ever seen a video of a wine glass shattering when a singer hits just the right note, you've seen resonance in action. Objects have natural frequencies at which they vibrate. And when you match that frequency, even small inputs of energy can build up and cause major effects. That's why bridges can sway dangerously in the wind, and why engineers take vibrations seriously when designing structures. But here's the reality check. While resonance is real, Tesla's claim that a small machine could cause an earthquake or split the planet is almost certainly exaggerated. No evidence ever surfaced of such a device actually existing beyond his own reports, and scientists today generally agree that causing tectonic-level destruction with vibrations alone would require an unimaginable amount of energy. The idea of tuning into the Earth's frequency and shaking it apart is more poetic than practical. Still, the earthquake machine remains one of the most fascinating footnotes in Tesla's legacy. It's a blend of science, imagination, and just enough truth to make you wonder what might have happened if he'd pushed the experiment even further. The dream of wireless energy transmission. One of Nikola Tesla's most ambitious and captivating dreams was to provide the world with free, wireless energy. He believed that it was possible to harness energy from the Earth itself and transmit it wirelessly to homes, machines, and even vehicles across the globe. At the heart of this dream stood Wardenclyffe Tower, a massive structure Tesla built on Long Island, New York, in the early 1900s. Towering nearly 200 feet with a giant copper dome on top, it looked like something straight out of a science fiction novel. But to Tesla, it was the future. The concept behind Wardenclyffe was revolutionary. Tesla thought the Earth could act as a conductor and storehouse for electrical energy. His plan was to send powerful electrical signals into the ground, which would then resonate and be picked up by receivers anywhere in the world. That meant no power lines, no fuel, no wires, just pure energy, transmitted invisibly through the air or ground. Imagine charging your phone or powering a factory without ever plugging into anything. It sounds almost too good to be true, and in many ways it was. The potential of this technology wasn't just inspiring, it was also a little terrifying. If Tesla had succeeded, wireless energy transmission could have changed the world in incredible ways, but in the wrong hands, it could also be dangerous. If you can transmit energy wirelessly, what's to stop someone from weaponizing it? Could it interfere with other systems or even disable power grids? It's not hard to imagine governments or militaries turning such a technology into a strategic weapon, rather than a tool for progress. Unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, depending on your point of view, Tesla never got to see Wardenclyffe completed. The financial side of the project collapsed before the tower was fully operational. JP Morgan, the industrialist who originally backed the project, pulled his funding when he realized there was no way to profit from something designed to give away free energy. After all, if people didn't have to pay for electricity, how would energy companies make money? Tesla's vision, as bold and brilliant as it was, clashed with the realities of capitalism. Eventually, the unfinished tower was dismantled, and the dream of wireless global energy faded into history. Today, scientists and engineers are still exploring wireless power on smaller scales, like wireless charging pads for phones and electric toothbrushes. But nothing has ever come close to what Tesla imagined over a century ago. In the end, Wardenclyffe Tower stands as a symbol of Tesla's genius and idealism. He wasn't just trying to invent useful gadgets, he was trying to reshape the entire world. His wireless energy project reminds us of how powerful ideas can be, and how sometimes even the most brilliant concepts struggle to survive in a world driven by money and control. Among all of his wild and sometimes prophetic ideas, one of the most mysterious, and frankly, a little creepy, was his vision of controlling the weather. That's next on the list. Stay in there. Weather control theories. Tesla's stormy vision. Without a doubt, he's one of the most fascinating minds in modern history. He gave us alternating current, experimented with wireless energy, and dreamed of a future where power would be beamed invisibly through the air. That's right, Tesla wasn't just thinking about lighting up homes. He was thinking about lighting up the sky. He spoke on several occasions about the potential to manipulate weather patterns using energy, things like directed electricity, ionization of the atmosphere, and electromagnetic fields. He imagined vast electrical towers, somewhat like his famous Wardenclyffe Tower, that could, in theory, create rain or disperse storms. In his mind, this wasn't magic, it was just physics taken to a grand scale. Now, to be clear, Tesla never actually built a working weather control system. There are no secret towers hidden in the Rockies zapping clouds into thunderstorms. But what makes his theories so unsettling is how close they come to modern conversations about geoengineering. Today, we talk about cloud seeding, stratospheric aerosol injections, and electromagnetic pulses, tools that could, theoretically, alter weather to combat climate change or, more darkly, serve military ends. It's like Tesla was peeking into the 21st century long before we were ready. And here's where things get a little terrifying. If you can control the weather, even partially, you wield an enormous amount of power. Think about it, creating droughts over enemy territory, unleashing torrential rains to flood cities, or even disrupting crops with artificial hail. The idea that weather could be turned into a weapon isn't science fiction. It's been explored by militaries and researchers for decades. In fact, during the Vietnam War, the US reportedly used cloud seeding in Operation Popeye to prolong the monsoon season. So Tesla's idea isn't just theoretical musing, it's a concept that has, at least in part, been tested. But that brings us back to a core reality check. While Tesla dreamed big, the actual science of weather control is enormously complex. Weather systems are chaotic, interconnected, and influenced by countless variables. Trying to micromanage them is like playing 4D chess against nature. It's not only hard, but the consequences of a wrong move could be catastrophic. We're talking unintended hurricanes, crop failures, and climate imbalances. Even today, with all our tech and satellites, our grip on weather manipulation is still pretty loose. Still, there's something eerie about Tesla's vision. He saw a world where humanity wasn't just subject to nature, but in control of it. That idea is both thrilling and disturbing. Imagine a planet where weather is programmed, like software, sunny weddings guaranteed, no more snow days, and governments deciding when and where it rains. Cool in theory, terrifying in practice. Tesla's weather control theories remain one of those fascinating what-ifs. They never became reality during his lifetime, and we're still far from mastering them. But the echoes of his ideas live on in modern science and conspiracy theories alike. Whether you see it as the next frontier of innovation or a Pandora's box, best left closed, one thing's for sure: Tesla was dreaming way ahead of his time. Remote-controlled machines, Tesla's little boat that changed everything. Back in 1898, while most people were still getting used to the idea of electricity lighting their homes, Nikola Tesla was already playing with something that looked like it came out of a sci-fi novel. A radio-controlled boat. That's right, a wireless, remote-controlled machine. Tesla rolled it out at an electrical exhibition at Madison Square Garden, and people were floored. Some thought it was magic. Others swore Tesla was secretly using telepathy. But no, it was pure science, and it was one of the first public demonstrations of wireless remote control in history. To the average observer, it probably just looked like a neat parlor trick. A small, boxy boat zipping around a water tank, responding to a handheld controller. But Tesla saw something far bigger. He hinted, even back then, at a future full of remote-operated machines. Machines that could work without humans on board, that could take orders from a distance, and yes, even machines that could be used for warfare. This little boat was more than a toy. It was the birth of the drone age. Now, fast forward to today, and Tesla's predictions feel uncomfortably spot on. We've got military drones flying across the globe, launching missiles without a pilot in sight. We've got AI-driven systems that can track targets, recognize faces, and even make decisions about when to strike. The kinds of things Tesla only vaguely imagined over a century ago are now actual tools of war. It's mind-blowing and a little terrifying. Think about what remote-controlled tech has evolved into. We've got drones delivering packages, sure, but also drones being used in surveillance, border patrol, and full-scale combat. There are debates going on right now about how much control artificial intelligence should have in military decisions. Should an AI be allowed to pull the trigger? Should it be making life or death calls on the battlefield? Tesla probably couldn't have imagined the specific tech we have today, but he clearly grasped the gravity of what remote-controlled machines could become. And here's the scary part. Tesla wasn't just excited about the tech. He was also deeply aware of its dual nature. He believed that remote-controlled machines could do incredible good, reducing the need for human soldiers, performing dangerous tasks, exploring hostile environments. But he also saw the writing on the wall. He knew that if this tech got into the wrong hands or was pushed too far, it could be used to inflict massive harm without a soldier ever stepping onto a battlefield. His little boat, in other words, was a prototype of peace and destruction. What's fascinating is how this early experiment also laid the groundwork for modern robotics. Today's robots, whether in manufacturing plants, hospitals, or war zones, owe a lot to the principles Tesla demonstrated over that water tank. Wireless control, precision movement, autonomous decision-making. The DNA of Tesla's 1898 invention is still in the veins of our most advanced machines. While his radio-controlled boat might seem quaint now, like a museum curiosity, it was a turning point in technological history. It marked the beginning of a shift in how humans interact with machines, and how machines might eventually act on their own. And as we look toward a future filled with smart drones, self-driving tanks, and autonomous weapons systems, Tesla's little boat looks less like a toy and more like a warning. Human energy harnessing. Tesla's bioelectric vision. Nikola Tesla had a knack for thinking way outside the box, and sometimes even way outside the planet. Among his stranger and more unsettling ideas was the concept that human beings radiate energy, bioelectric energy, that could potentially be captured and used. In simple terms, he imagined that the human body was like a walking power plant, constantly emitting tiny amounts of electricity and heat. Theoretically, with the right kind of machine, he believed this energy could be harvested. At the time, it was more speculation than science. Tesla never actually built a device to do this, and most of what he said about it was philosophical or theoretical. But that didn't stop the idea from lodging itself deep into the imagination of futurists and science fiction writers. It's the same concept that famously showed up in The Matrix, where humans are turned into living batteries, powering an entire machine civilization. And let's be honest, that visual alone is enough to send a chill down your spine. The core idea is both fascinating and terrifying. On one hand, it makes sense. We do produce energy. Our bodies generate electricity to power our brains and hearts, and we radiate heat constantly. So what if all that energy could be recycled somehow? What if your smartwatch didn't need charging because it fed off your body heat or movement? That's already happening in tiny ways, by the way. There are experimental wearables and small gadgets that do this. That part is kind of cool, actually. But where it gets dark is when you scale it up. Tesla imagined machines that could draw power directly from the human bioelectric field, almost like plugging people into sockets. And while he may have envisioned this as a clean, natural way to power devices, without pollution or fuel, the implications quickly veer into dystopian territory. Imagine a society where energy demands are so high that humans are used as fuel sources, not because they want to be, but because it's efficient. That's some real-life cyberpunk nightmare stuff. Even if it's not as dramatic as rows of humans hooked into tubes, there's still something ethically dicey about the whole concept. Where's the line between using someone's energy passively and exploiting them? What if governments or corporations started incentivizing, or worse, requiring people to wear devices that constantly feed power back to the grid? What if energy credits became tied to how much heat or motion your body produced? It sounds extreme, but so did the idea of tracking everyone's location with a smartphone 50 years ago. In reality, Tesla never took this idea beyond the drawing board. No machine was ever built. No human battery was ever plugged in. And thank goodness, because the ethical can of worms this opens is massive. It forces us to ask uncomfortable questions about consent, ownership of our own bodies, and how far we're willing to let technology go in the name of progress. Still, the fact that Tesla was pondering this over 100 years ago is wild. He saw human beings not just as thinkers or workers, but as energy sources in themselves. That kind of vision is why people still obsess over his work today. It makes you wonder, were these just ideas ahead of their time, or warnings we haven't taken seriously enough? Despite all his vision and inventions, Tesla is often considered the scientist who is a little bit out there and full of silly ideas. Why would someone brilliant be remembered that way? Inside Tesla's head, the guy basically gave us alternating current electricity, helped lay the groundwork for wireless communication, and once tried to build a massive tower to beam free energy to the world. Sounds awesome, right? So why is he often thought of as someone whose ideas were kind of out there, even bordering on impossible or impractical? Well, to start, Tesla wasn't just an inventor, he was a dreamer, and not in a small way. While most engineers and scientists work within clear boundaries, budgets, known laws of physics, the need to make something that can actually work in the real world, Tesla often leaped right over those lines. That made him fascinating, but it also made people skeptical, especially his peers and potential investors. Take his Wardenclyffe Tower, mentioned earlier. Tesla wanted to transmit electricity wirelessly across long distances, using the Earth itself as a conductor. His vision? Free, wireless power for everyone. No wires, no meters, no electric bills. Pretty cool, if it worked. The problem is, while the idea was conceptually interesting, the science behind it didn't fully check out, at least not with the technology and understanding of physics we have even today. Plus, the practicalities, like how to contain and direct such power, how to stop it from frying every bird in a 10-mile radius, were never fully worked out. Another reason Tesla's ideas are seen as impractical is that he often kept them to himself or failed to follow through with detailed documentation. He wasn't a business guy, he didn't always write things down in a way others could replicate. While Thomas Edison was busy filing patents and mass-producing inventions, Tesla was experimenting in isolation, jotting ideas into notebooks and pursuing new obsessions before finishing the last one. It didn't help that, later in life, Tesla started making more extreme claims. He talked about death rays, what he called a teleforce weapon, machines that could cause earthquakes, and even communication with other planets. Whether these were real experiments or just the ideas of a man losing touch with reality is still debated, but either way, they made him seem a bit unhinged. By the time he died in 1943, he was living alone in a New York hotel room, feeding pigeons, broke, and largely forgotten by the mainstream scientific community. Now, don't get this twisted. Tesla was a genius. His contributions to science and technology are absolutely real and still felt today. But his legacy is a weird mix of brilliance and myth. Some of his ideas really were ahead of their time, and others were probably never going to work, no matter how much time passed. In a way, Tesla represents the dreamer archetype. He wasn't always concerned with whether something was marketable or even entirely feasible. He just wanted to see if it could be done. That's inspiring, but it's also why some people consider him non-practical. He didn't fit neatly into the world of tidy labs and step-by-step progress. He wanted revolutions, not revisions. Inside Tesla's head, the rules of the physical world didn't seem to apply in the same way they did for others. He had an extraordinary ability to visualize complex systems in 3D in his mind, often seeing entire machines and circuits without needing to build prototypes. He would think through his designs in his head, even performing complex tests without ever physically interacting with the objects. This gave him a distinct advantage in terms of creating inventions, but it also created a sense of isolation. Tesla's world was one of constant internal problem-solving, an unending flow of ideas that could never quite be grounded in the day-to-day realities of life. What's fascinating is that Tesla didn't always think in terms of practicality. He was often more interested in grand, world-changing concepts than in the finer details of how to make them work. It's said that Tesla envisioned wireless transmission of energy long before the technology existed to make it possible. In his head, the entire planet was connected by invisible currents of energy, and he could see a future where people had access to free electricity wherever they were. His concept of a world wireless system was an attempt to tap into the Earth's natural resonant frequency, envisioning a future where communication, transportation, and even power could be shared universally. But Tesla's genius was tempered by an almost obsessive drive to perfect his ideas. He would work tirelessly on one project, sometimes neglecting basic human needs like food and sleep. His perfectionism bordered on the pathological. He believed that only through absolute precision and perfection could he unlock the secrets of the universe. His thoughts became tangled with his work, often leading to a disconnect from reality. Inside Tesla's head, there was also a certain mystical, even spiritual quality. While many viewed him as a mere scientist or inventor, Tesla saw himself as a conduit for forces beyond human comprehension. He often spoke about energy and electricity as if they were forces of nature with almost divine power. Tesla believed that there were invisible energies all around us, and that it was his purpose to tap into them to unlock the secrets of the universe. He talked about harnessing the forces of the Earth itself, claiming that his inventions could transform not just society, but the very way humanity interacted with nature. Do you think Tesla deserves better recognition for his inventions? Comment down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't.